Welcome back to Fearcast, where shadows become stories and cold cases refuse to be forgotten. Tonight, we return to a chilly December evening in 1991, a night that should have ended with laughter, but instead ended with fire, grief, and a mystery that still pulses through the streets of Austin. Inside a small frozen yogurt shop, four teenage girls were bound, shot execution style, and left to burn. Their names, Eliza Thomas, Jennifer and Sarah Harbison, and Amy Ayers. They were ordinary kids with braces, college plans, and weekend hopes, until violently stripped of all that within hours. The crime was horrifying, meticulous, and deeply personal. Investigators found two kinds of bullets, a fire that incinerated nearly all evidence, and an unsettling question. How could someone enter that place and vanish with no trace of who they truly were? This isn't just a story. It's a wound still bleeding. And tonight, on Fearcast, we do more than reopen the file. We bring their voices back into the light. Let's meet the lives behind the names. Eliza Thomas, 17, quiet, artistic, always lost in a sketchbook as if it could freeze time. Jennifer Harbison, also 17, responsible, kind, and already helping plan her future with college applications. Sarah Harbison, 15, Jennifer's younger sister, outgoing, playful, fiercely protective. Amy Ayers, 13, innocent, passionate about animals. She wanted to be a veterinarian someday. They were a blend of friendship and family, closing up the yogurt shop after a normal shift. Two would close the register. One would tell jokes. The youngest would watch warily, thrilled to be part of it. None of them imagined that night would be their last breath. Reconstructing their final hours turns gut-wrenching when you remember. It wasn't just a crime scene. It was where laughter died. This is the heart of the tragedy and what still fuels the pain that lingers over this city. It was December 6th, 1991. Around 11 p.m., Jennifer, having locked the front door after her shift, was closing up. A pair of witnesses recalled seeing two men sitting in the shop. Unusual, lingering. One had clean-cut, sandy hair. The other was larger, clad in a weathered, green jacket, odd details in a routine night. Near midnight, a dispatch call reported a fire in the strip mall. Firefighters arrived to find smoke, and then the horrific discovery. Four nude, charred bodies lay at the back, tied, shot in the head. Amy was separate from the others, her arm reaching out toward them, a silent testament to tragedy. Two types of bullets, .22 and .380, suggested up to two shooters. The fire had erased nearly everything else. It was more than execution. It was staged, controlled, laying a cold puzzle for investigators yet to face. The images, they're burned into my memory. Witnesses described the two men vividly, but years of hypnosis and interviews never yielded identities. The physical evidence? Destroyed. Forensic investigators found a bullet lodged in a sink, a grim clue to weapon type, but no fingerprints or usable DNA, at least not until later. The arson, while intended to conceal, ensured few clues survived. Still, detectives collected everything left, determined to rebuild what remained. Community grief surged. Billboards declaring, "We will not forget," appeared. Memorial buttons and rallies became symbols of shared outrage and lingering hope. For Austin, this became more than crime. It became a scar on the city's soul. By 1999, with no arrest, investigators refocused on four teenage suspects: Maurice Pierce, Forrest Wellborn, Robert Springsteen, and Michael Scott. Their connection began when Pierce was arrested with a gun near the crime scene shortly afterward. After lengthy interrogations, Springsteen and Scott confessed, but details didn't align. Their statements conflicted with physical evidence. Appeals courts later ruled the confessions were coerced and that defendants' rights had been violated. In 2009, both were released, convictions overturned. Imagine spending a decade behind bars for a crime you didn't commit. For these families, this was torture upon trauma. And for investigators, it was a stinging reminder. When the truth is fragile, justice can become fragile too. Fortunately, science marched on. In the early 2000s, investigators found male DNA from one of the victims, possibly tied to sexual assault. Latest YSDR testing in 2017 attempted a breakthrough, similar to how the Boston Strangler was identified through familial DNA analysis. But the match? Negative. Professionals tested more advanced markers later, but still, no match. The FBI even refused to release sample details due to donor anonymity. DNA stood as both promise and wall, a clue that hinted at someone's identity and yet not release. Biography. But technologies evolve, and detectives like Dan Jackson remain hopeful that the next breakthrough is closer than we think. Here are the leading theories whispered through courtrooms, crime labs, and living rooms for decades. 1. Robbery gone wrong. Some investigators believe 2 criminals entered, expecting a quick grab, but were surprised by 4 teenage girls. Panic led to murder, covers up with fire. Pros: open register, small amounts of cash missing. Cons: method was calculated, binding, execution-style shots, leading many to doubt it was a chaotic robbery. 2. Targeted attack. A darker possibility. 1 or more girls were the intended target. The others were collateral damage. Pros: the precision, multiple shooters, binding, suggests planning. Cons: no clear motive, no recognizable relationships emerge from investigations. 3. Serial killers or transient predators. Dry, methodical acts suggest criminal experience. Investigators examined suspects like convicted serial killer Kenneth McDuff, but quickly ruled them out. Pros: fits the control and staging. Cons: no known links to the victims or the store. No suspects ever identified in new crimes. 4. Familiar stranger theory. One of the most compelling: the unrecognized men in the shop. Witnesses described 2 men, a slimmer, sandy-haired one and a larger figure in a green jacket, ordering drinks, not yogurt, and whispering. They were the last people seen inside. To this day, they are unidentified and considered prime suspects. Amber Fairley, defense attorney, said, "They described them in the same manner, and we don't know who those 2 guys are." That raises suspicion that they did it. In unsolved cases like this, the suspects often are someone who slipped into familiarity and slid out of reach. These 2 remain the biggest question marks of all. The young lives lost spawned lasting impacts. In the years that followed, the city erected billboards, burying the question, who killed these girls, in public memory. The documentary The Yogurt Shop Murders, directed by Austin's own Margaret Brown, was not glossy. It was meditative, grief-laden, and centered around the families who've refused to be forgotten. The Guardian, Vanity Fair, Sonora Thomas, Eliza's sister, recalls, "I've never woken up on a day when my sister wasn't alive." Time, Emily and Pam Ayers remember Amy every time they see children and animals. Jennifer and Sarah's mother said she still wonders if one hug could have changed the trajectory. Time, Austin never recovered its innocence. The murders reshaped safety norms, law enforcement approaches, and became a cautionary tale in cold case advocacy. The legacy lives not just in pain, but in remembrance. So here we are, 30-plus years later. The killer left no name, no DNA match, no record. The forensic regrets, the coerced confessions, the placeholders for answers that never arrived. But one strand of DNA remains. One sighting of 2 men never accounted for. That's the key. Because even the faintest light in the darkness can guide us to truth if we keep looking. Who killed Eliza, Jennifer, Sarah, and Amy? The answer could be a single phone call, a new breakthrough in forensic science, or someone's memory finally remembered. And until that day, their names echo, voices demanding justice, insisting we keep asking, keep seeking, keep listening. This is Fearcast. Thanks for stepping into the shadows with us. Keep the memory alive. Until next time, stay vigilant.